Keep your horns high and heads banging for Jenn Mitchell in the 80sGasm.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Merry Christmas.
Oh, goodness. Oh, here we are again. Another year is gone.
Welcome to my very special edition of 80sGasm this week. I'm your host, Jenn Mitchell, and today, because I know you guys are probably not burned out enough yet from listening to Christmas songs since October, so I thought I would add to either your holiday misery or your excitement by playing all 80s holiday classics right here for the next hour. Now, first of all, I just want to say that I asked Santa if I could be lazy this year for the holidays, and he's like, no, you got to get up and do the show. So I figured I would spice it up a bit for everybody out there. We're going to play a drinking game throughout this show. Now, for those of you who out there that don't drink alcoholic beverages, that's okay too, because you can just sub in, say, eggnog. Chocolate would be acceptable as well. Of course, I always go for the chocolate. What can I say? Every time you hear the word Christmas in any of the songs, just take a shot. Now I'm going to make a prediction right now. By the third song on this show, you're probably going to be too wasted to care, or at least very, very buzzed.
Ah, my liver! My liver!
Of course, if you're not knocked down drunk by the time we're done with this entire show, then you should probably consider checking yourself into Betty Ford or Promises in Malibu. No one's tolerance should be that high. Come on now.
My liver!
Now, for those of you naughty holiday lushes out there, I've taken the liberty of looking up the popular drinks from the 1980s, so I'm going to pick some from these lists to share with you, and it's up to you to pick your poison. This one sounds pretty festive. It's called Angel's Kiss. Now, I could just give you the recipes on what the measurements are for each of these ingredients in these drinks, but I encourage experimentation. Angel's Kiss has white cream to cocoa, brandy, sloe gin, and half and half in it. Now, this one I've actually had before, and it's called the Mudslide, and here's the reason why I don't drink. When I have only 2 or 3 sips of alcohol, I tend to get really, weird about it, and I don't know if I have some allergy or something.
You ignorant slut.
But I also get extremely friendly, and I'm sure that probably makes some of you really happy out there, but
Ignorant slut.
usually these things occur in public, and I'm just not really into that whole thing, but alright.
Slut.
Now, you really can't go wrong with the Mudslide. It's got vodka, Kahlua coffee liqueur, Bailey's Irish cream, and regular cream.
Slut.
It does make the recommendation, though, of pouring it into a glass. However, I think it's far more classier to just take the bottles and just whip them in your mouth at will. Mix it up in your mouth and swallow. This is already starting to turn into a really kinky show. Perhaps we should move on here to another drink suggestion. Slippery Nipple. See, this isn't going to really help my case here either, and for those of you out there that don't know what goes in the Slippery Nipple, it's white Sambuca, Bailey's Irish cream again, our good old friend there, and a dash of grenadine. Maybe you want to skip all the foreplay drinks and just go right to sex on the beach. Now, this is kind of a weird thing to serve around the holidays, but it's on the list for the popular 80s holiday drinks, so I gotta go with what it says. It's got vodka, peach schnapps, orange juice, and cranberry juice. I have a funny story about peach schnapps. I already sound drunk saying that. Peach schnapps. I don't even know what came out of my mouth there. That's okay. I have a twin sister, and later on in the show I'm going to talk about her a little bit more, but when her and I were only in 7th grade, our oldest sister had gone away to college, and we had gone down there, and our older sister was the first person to introduce us both to alcohol, and that would have been peach schnapps, and we had never really grown up in a household where people drank, especially not my parents, so to watch our older sister turn into this blithering, sweaty, purple, hot mess drinking peach schnapps was rather entertaining for us until we tried it, and the same thing happened to us. I'm not going to mention anything else that happened after that because I do have a rep to protect.
Face it, you're a neo-maxi-zoom dweeby.
I don't think doing this show is going to help me with that cause at all, but we're going to move on to just one more drink that was popular from the 1980s, and that would be the White Russian, which is vodka, Kahlua, and cream. Again, you can use the same mixology tip I gave you not too long ago, which is to just pour the crap all right in your mouth, mix it up, and swallow. If you don't get drunk but people are watching you, you'll most likely end up with a date. That's all I'm going to say.
Slut.
Now, during the show, I am going to be featuring holiday songs that took place in the 1980s, but I feel kind of weird introducing them since most of you know what these song titles are. Here's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Like you're not going to recognize the Christmas songs here. All you had to do is sit back, drink, enjoy, and be merry. Or do merry, depending on how many drinks she's had. That was John Cougar Mellencamp and Madonna walking us down memory lane back to 1987 with their own unique takes on Santa Claus. Now, gotta tell you a few things about this whole Santa deal and stuff that would go on in my house when I was a kid. Every kid looks forward to Christmas and everything like that, but in my house it was a whole other ball game. Why? Because I had a twin sister, as I mentioned earlier, and parents always had this thing about getting us the same gift only in like a different color or like a different style. My twin sister is far more conservative than me, so she was always one of those types that would sit there and slowly peel back the tape.
Come on!
on, kid.
On each end of a present and everything, and I was more just like rip right into it like Animal from the Muppets and stuff like that. So I would get really mad on Christmas morning because my parents not only made us do the synchronized gift opening, they made us sit back to back, and they knew which presents matched up with which, so we could never just dive under the tree and just start ripping presents open because they'd be like, no, you're gonna sit there.
Come on!
And they'd even label our presents with like a J for me and an M for my sister on them so they'd know who got what. Now, this was torture for someone like me who just wanted to rip right into everything and open my stuff, go into my room, and play with whatever the hell they got me, right? So
I got my slowpoke sister over there
going at the pace of a snail opening up her presents, and I've already ripped into mine. Now we're back to back and everything, and my parents would be like, oh, don't react to whatever we got you. So say if it was something cool like a Walkman or like the CD boombox or this word processor thing I really wanted, I couldn't even react to that right away. Really? But as soon as my lovely sister would finally open, then they'd be like, oh, okay, Jennifer, now you can go react. Well, thanks. I'm not even in the mood anymore. Luckily for all of us, though, I am in the mood for more Christmas songs. So here's one of my personal favorites, covered by Hall & Oates from 1983. And I think you'll recognize the song. More holiday classics from the 1980s are up after this break from our sponsor. You're listening to the special holiday edition of 80sGasm with Jenn Mitchell on KRMARadio.com.
Are you tired of the music you hear on the radio? Since 2004, Arm the Pit has been promoting the bands the mainstream ignores. Visit armthepit.com today and discover your new favorite band.
Arm the Pit! Yeah! Sign up your f***ing name, and we'll make some noise.
Step inside, walk this way, you and me, babe. Hey, hey!
You rock. Be punk. Be classic. Be pop. Be '80sGasm with Jenn Mitchell every Wednesday night at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, with encores on Saturday mornings at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Welcome back to this all-Christmas song edition of 80sGasm. I'm your host, Jenn Mitchell, and sometimes on this show, just sometimes if you listen very closely for it, I'll actually be informative. I mean, if you're coming here to try and learn anything deep and meaningful, probably not going to happen. With it being Christmas time, children are making out their lists for Santa all over the globe, and that inspired me to look up some of the most popular Christmas toys from the 1980s. I'm a little bit surprised, though, because looking through this list, it wasn't even one mention of Cabbage Patch dolls. Did the people who put together this list completely forget the whole Cabbage Patch doll scandals that were going on, and the trampling each other, getting into fistfights, and storming these stores for a doll? I digress. I'm not even going to try and go off on that right now, but I will share some of the other popular toys from the 1980s that all the kids were sitting on Santa's lap and saying, "Can I have ... Here we go. The He-Man Castle Grayskull playset. I gotta say, I had 4 sisters, so none of us really asked for this sort of thing because it's a little bit of a boy's toy. However, for the little girls, many of them asked for the My Little Pony Dream Castle playset. I mean, where else were your ponies gonna go and graze? Now, this one can go for either or. It was the Ghostbusters Firehouse. Of course, it did have the extra added feature of spewing out the slime, and I'm sure parents really loved scraping that off their carpet for days. Isn't half the fun of buying toys for other kids just knowing the impending hell it's going to put on the parents? Then there was the Rainbow Bright doll. She didn't really do anything except sit there, and that was totally fine and acceptable back in the 80s, but I also have to say about my 10-year-old, when she was smaller and I used to buy her stuffed animals and everything, she had gotten so used to her stuffed animals being able to talk and walk and, laugh when they're tickled and stuff like that. So when I would just give her a basic stuffed animal, she'd shake it and she'd be like, well, where are all the buttons on this? I'm like, this is what Mommy used to play with when she was a kid, and she'd be like, oh, that just stinks. Well, thanks. I think I'll turn that in and go get myself some Xanax. It's just a stuffed animal. Enjoy. Another toy that was popular back in the 80s that I never quite understood was the glowworm. I pretty much don't enjoy sleeping with anything that slithers or crawls around or anything like that. Ooh, here's a good one. The Little Professor. Do you know what I'm talking about there? It was that calculator that kind of looked like a professor and everything, but I always have to say it also kind of looked like an owl in a weird way, and you could tip it over and it had that one flat head, and people would put them upside down on their desk and stuff and think, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, you're not cool. Of course, we can't forget the Walkman because it was just a way of indicating to other people that you were super cool and that your music taste was, of course, amazing. You could put your little mixtapes in there and stuff like that. In the 80s, I actually got a boombox from my parents, and it had like the tape deck in it, and then on top it had the CD thing. There were a ton of really cool toys made in the 80s, and some of those were electronic, and I picked out a few to kind of discuss and share my thoughts on with you. First one would be the talking Teddy Ruxpin. I never had one of these, but my friends did, and I always found them a little bit creepy. Pretty sure I'm not alone in that. In fact, I recently stumbled across some footage for research for the show. See, I told you I sometimes do research here. And these kids who were born in the 2000s were asked to review the Teddy Ruxpin, and so they sat down at a table, and these were some of their reactions to the bear.
This toy was one of the most popular toys for kids, but back in 1985.
What?
They call him Teddy Ruxpin.
Is this from Five Nights at Freddy's? It's creepy. What? No! I got scared.
I don't want it to just pop up in my hand while I'm still touching it.
Come dream with me tonight.
This is so creepy.
And last but not least, we can't forget the speak and spell.
Say it. Abscess.
Abscess, a word every child wants to learn.
Say it. Journey.
Journey, what?
Say it. Laughter.
Laughter, got that one.
Say it.
What? Pyramid, what?
Say it. Putin.
Putin. Vladimir Putin?
Say it. Feather.
What?
Say it. Reindeer.
Reindeer, and I'm going to go speak and spell one step further and put that in a sentence. So here's Grandma got ran over by a reindeer. In your face, speak and spell! The last three songs you heard from Bryan Adams, U2, and Run DMC were all featured on a holiday compilation album from 1987 called A Very Special Christmas. The sales from that album were donated to the Special Olympics, though right now I'm going to take a very quick moment so I can donate some time to a cause close to my heart, which involves two very special people. Drummer James Michael McLester of Supernova Remnant has been fighting end-stage renal disease, and for the past 13 years he's been getting hemodialysis 3 times a week while he patiently awaited a kidney transplant. It brings me great joy to report that his friend Laura Suarez has played the role of Santa this year because on December 10th, she donated her kidney to James. Now, James has had a campaign to help raise funds and awareness through the incredible organization called Help Hope Live, and for the past year and a half, I've also been volunteering to his cause as well. While they're both now recuperating this holiday season, they're both still in need of aftercare donations, so if you'd like to make a contribution to them, please visit helphopelive.org/campaign/4543, or you can visit my website at gasmswithjen.com, and you're going to find a big blue button right at the top of my homepage that says Donate. Any amount that you'd be able to donate to James's campaign would be very helpful, and also if you'd like to donate to Laura, you can do that also through James's campaign. All you have to do is earmark it to Laura Suarez, and that's Suarez. On behalf of both of my friends, James and Laura, I'd like to say thank you in advance for your gift in kind. I'll be back with more 80s holiday classics right after this break from our sponsor. You're listening to a very special holiday edition of 80sGasm with Jenn Mitchell on KRMARadio.com.
It's back, the legendary Screamer magazine. Born on the streets of LA in 1987, Screamer brought you some of the biggest names in metal long before their rise to superstardom. Bands like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Skid Row, Warrant, LA Guns, and Faster Pussycat. Now it's back, covering a whole new generation of music. At ScreamerMagazine.com, not only can you read and hear interviews with some of today's hottest bands, you can also download copies of vintage Screamer magazines and experience the LA metal scene of the 80s up close and personal. Log on to ScreamerMagazine.com now and receive a free magazine download just for registering. ScreamerMagazine.com, still the loudest mag on the planet.
80sGasm with Jenn Mitchell returns this Wednesday night at 11 Eastern, 10 Central on KRMARadio.com.
Oh, gnarly!
Yes, I'm back.
So I smell.
I'm not a farmer, and I don't smell, regardless of what they might say.
Fresh breath's priority in my life.
My name is Monroe. You've probably noticed that I have incredibly blue eyes.
Ass sphincter says what?
Yes, that gnarly messes me.
Clean up on aisle 4.
He said I was professional, and I was all, are you sure you have the right Jenn Mitchell?
Geek, can I be honest with you? Not if you're gonna insult me.
Buying your cheesy lines, I am not. Scared, nauseous, and serious about slapping you in the face with a frozen flounder, I am. Was that declarative enough? Now, where did I put my extra Petri dishes?
Oh, I've been waiting all day for this.
Stay naked, everyone. More 80sGasm with Jenn Mitchell on KRMARadio.com is on its way. Welcome back to this very special holiday edition of 80sGasm. I'm your host, Jenn Mitchell, and I'm not drunk. However, I have a feeling some of you might be if you're playing along with my drinking holiday game here. Because every time you hear the word Christmas in a song, you're supposed to be taking a shot, because nothing says the holidays like getting rip-roaring drunk.
My liver!
So far for the last 2 segments in this show, for those of you who might not be tallying, don't worry, I've done the work for you. The word Christmas in the songs has been sung 37 times.
My liver!
Now, maybe I'm going to have to recant this whole holiday drinking game, because if you've had 37 shots by now and you actually took my word seriously and played along, you're totally screwed. You're not even upright. You're not awake, and I certainly wouldn't want any of you to go into like alcohol poisoning or a coma or anything like that. No, that's not the holidays. On the other hand, you might have to do that to put up with your relatives, right? Consider what I'm doing for you a public service. Therapy, if you will. Something that used to be very therapeutic for me, and probably was for a lot of you guys as well, was watching old school MTV when it first came out. You know, when they used to play songs and have really cool DJs on there and everything. Well, the video for this next song I'm about to play for you featured the 5 original MTV VJs, and that would be Nina Blackwood, Alan Hunter, JJ Jackson, Mark Goodman, and Martha Quinn. If you go to YouTube, you can check out their videos there, but for now, let's just play the song. So from 1981, here's Billy Squier with Christmas is a Time to Say I Love You. And I have this feeling that if I've had as many drinks as you guys, I'd be saying I love you in far more than just a song. Just saying. Rounding up all the reindeer and reigning in today's show were the Eurythmics with Winter Wonderland and Queen with Thank God It's Christmas. That was a little bit of a tongue twister there. Eurythmics. Maybe I do need to try the speak and spell again.
Say it. Ancest.
Oh, not this crap again.
Say it. Corsage.
Corsage.
Say it. Anything.
It. I'm just kidding.
Say it.
Sorry.
Feather.
Burglar. Turgler?
Say it. Language.
Need new batteries. At this time, I'd like to thank you all for spending an hour of your holiday time here with me on 80sGasm. New shows can be heard every Wednesday night at 11 Eastern, 10 Central on KRMARadio.com, with a replay for all of you who may be naughty and missed it the first time around on Saturday mornings at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. I'd also like to thank the staff of KRMARadio.com for letting me run my mouth again for yet another hour on their network. Special shout-outs to Dave Castagno at Screamer Magazine and John Nowinski at Arm the Pit for their sponsorship of the show. Next week, you can look forward to an all-party edition of 80sGasm as we ring in the new year together with some great hits and your requests. You can leave any of your requests on my website on Facebook at /80sGasmRock or on my website at gasmswithjen.com. All you have to do is go there, look at the side menu, and look at the request a song. Click on that, send your information to me, and include a funny little story in there too, if there's a dedication behind it or a weird and tripped up reason why you like that song in the first place, and I'll make sure to twist that and put it on air for you. How's that?
Say it. Oh, brother.
Closing out today's show is a song that was written by Bob Geldof and released in 1984. It featured several bands that all came together in the 1980s, including Culture Club, David Bowie, Duran Duran, Eurythmics, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, The Human League, and so many more, and something tells me that you know exactly which song I'm talking about. All proceeds from record sales went to aid Ethiopia's famine and medical supply crisis, and they raised thousands and thousands of dollars to help those people out. This holiday season, please remember the spirit of giving and help out those who are less fortunate than you. And until next time, this is Jenn Mitchell of 80sGasm signing off and saying, I hope the music keeps hitting you in all the right places. Merry Christmas, everyone.